Lee Sidle game. No one should be surprised I pick Lee Sidle game. He is no doubt my favorite player. Just completely hands down. Yep, can always count on him for strength. And typically a little bit of aggression, which, is how he made my list of favorite players. But this game didn't really expect this out of him in this game, what you're going to see here. This game is just so very interesting. I have no idea. I'll have to ask that. I'll have to look at that later, Ron-chan. Yes, this is a very recent game. If you've seen it, congratulations. You know what's coming up. And you also know why I like it. So we start with a pretty normal opening, nothing unusual. Like I say, each and every time I do this, nothing unusual. We have a high approach rather than, orthodox. Or a little bit more, it would be very unusual to see it, but I guess we could technically play this almost mini micro Chinese thing. We don't really see that very often, but it's playable too. Instead we see a very normal high approach on 3/4 stone. A couple of different ways of handling this. White can pincer, that's perfectly fine. White can ignore and approach the 3/4 in the lower right, that'd be fine too. He decided to get his territory. Also very normal. Now, knowing full well that connecting here is Joseki, but a little bit slow, he decides to try to get a little bit more out of his position and plays this very lightly. He knows that if white cuts, he's still in a very nice position for himself. If he plays here, for example, we can just save the C6 stone. And now what are we going to do? Are we going to target the stone? Because if we do that, we're still getting a good position. And white now needs moves in two places. White now needs a move on the bottom to use his influence that he obtained, and on the top in order to make certain that the corner's not going to get surrounded. And he's not going to get both. Whereas black's position is completely fine. So we're not going to play this way. Not going to do it. Would it not be better to play at C13? Play at C13. When at C13? Oh, I see. Play here. No, not really, because now you're inviting this, for one, which is going to give white a larger corner. You're still going to get the area you were looking for, but you're giving more to white just to avoid a fight. I don't like that particularly well, especially when I know that this is still invadable. Oops, shoot, no. Especially when I know that if we're not careful here, white can still theoretically live. So we don't even know what we just obtained for ourselves yet. So we're giving a lot to white. There's still a lot of Aji remaining. If you are worried about being pincered and starting the fight that is typically associated with this, then just don't play the approach. Alright, so black continues Joseki. Oh wait, did I miss anything else? No, I didn't. So white continues to Joseki. Black again goes high. I think I might have mentioned this briefly recently. Difference between high and low is the Aji remaining. If we go low, then any and potentially all of, well, not all, but any of these moves are Aji for white, however he wants to continue the position. Does he want to invade? Does he want to keep it low, reduce? I mean, up to him, really. But if we go high, we don't really have, any of these nice moves that we had a second ago, right? I mean, I guess we could cap a fourth Mind Stone, but that'd be kind of weird. Not really aggressive. Not very threatening. Might not even be responded to. We might still have an invasion. Oh, you'll know immediately. You will know immediately. Well, I don't want to say you don't cap a fourth Mind Stone. Anytime I'm trying to teach, I really, really, really try to avoid saying something that concrete, because anyone can do, well, I guess anyone with a good database will immediately come back and go, oh, wait, no, they kept a fourth Mind Stone here. I mean, it's not usually done, but you need a very, very, very good reason to cap a fourth Mind Stone. But I don't want to say flat out, don't do it. A bit, but it's going to differ very, very wildly, very, very soon. Don't you worry. White takes Sente. Yeah, those two words are very, very difficult to use in Go. That's why the game is so annoying to try to learn. But alright, White has Sente. White can do whatever he wants. He can approach. Not a whole lot of other options besides approaching. But he does certainly have a lot of approaches that he can in fact do. So that's good. He chooses to approach on the inside. K17. Yeah, that would be slow. Because what you're doing now is giving Sente back to black, right? Because this is not a move that you actually have to respond to. I mean, this isn't threatening. Also, I want to point out that if you're a fan of playing moves like this, you're trying to take an extension, a very low, flat extension for yourself. So that in itself is a bit slow. I would rather you just go and approach the 4/4 stone directly to be a little bit more active. I would also like to point out that that extension for yourself is also still containing an invasion point. So we're trying to take only a few extra points for ourselves in Gote when there's still a weakness lingering behind. So this is the kind of thing that, again, you need a very, very good reason to play. And in this case, the only reason I can possibly think of is maybe there's an enclosure here, and you want to take away the extension. But even that, I would rather this stone be fourth line now, simply because it's no longer low and flat, and yeah. Anyway. White approaches on the inside. Black pincers. An interesting choice. White changes direction. He could jump out here, but we know that this Joseki is horrible. And by horrible, I mean black is getting territory, clearly. He also has a fairly nice follow-up here in order to make certain that you're just kind of over-concentrated and living and doing very, very little else. So we need a very good reason to play here, to play this Joseki. I mean, can you live with it? Sure. Is it good to know that you have this option in order to maybe use at some point? Maybe in your game, this area was absolutely large, so living here is good enough. So in that instance, sure, it's good to know the sequence. Uh, Good question. Why did he approach inside? I would have played outside because it works better with my top left stones, and the answer to that is Aji. This stone is going to be on the board for a very long time. Even after we go and do this, let's go and advance through the game real quick. Even after we go and do this, what do we have here for white? We have white taking the corner, and this stone which is not dead. Okay, let's examine something different instead then. Let's approach on this side. Go through something like this. Alright, this is really bad. I'm going to change the stone. Now what do we have? We don't have any Aji on the right-hand side still, or side yet. We have ways to reduce it, certainly. But there's nothing to worry about right now. I mean, there are no lingering stones that are coming back to life. We're low and flat. I guess we don't have to be low and flat if we don't want to be. We could choose to play this way for development. But it's still a very different game. The corner is still potentially blacks. There's no Aji for black to be worried about on the right-hand side. I mean, it's a fine way of playing. You can play this way if you want, but those are the differences. Let's see, I'm missing an argument, I think. Robert T says top left is third line, bottom left is third line, so top and bottom doesn't seem as interesting. Rich? Oh, in terms of approach. Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, you can approach here, and as long as you're approaching, you're going, I ruined the board, didn't I? No, I didn't. Where was that? Alright, not going to find it ever. No, wait, here? Yeah, there we go. I mean, we could back off here, so we're not all low and flat. We could back off high. So it's possible, a little bit more difficult to do. Black can develop the right-hand side and the bottom easier than you can develop the top. Or the bottom, since you're all low right now. Well, it's not really a matter of preparation. You start putting down variations and suddenly you can't find anything. What else did we have here? In low Q to low Don games, it does not matter. That is a little slow for white because we are speaking about 5. Actually, no. You are not just speaking about points. You're speaking about the entire rest of the game and how it's going to unfold. If you have, let's say, a game like this, for example, then white isn't really going to be able to do very much else for the rest of the game. The top, or as in reference to the right side, the top is pretty well spoken for in terms of territory involved. Everything essentially is being, let's give an extra move here, is being resolved, right? If we play a different way, then everything is still open. So we're not just talking about points. We're talking about your options for how you can possibly continue the rest of the game. I mean, maybe, for example, you want to reduce the right-hand side for whatever reason. In this variation, probably not going to happen. Black is pretty well strong on that. In a different variation, like here, for example, well, okay, we still have Aji because that stone's alive. That stone's not dead yet. Right, but now you are going against Tian. What am I going against? I'm going against Inseis? What? Oh, you're implying that people at your rank aren't going to be playing such things? Because they will. Anyway, I'll move on. Let's see. Let's see, back to the game. So we have black having, alright, that's fine. Going back to the game, black's move. He has his choice of what to do now. How to find what to do, though, is a very good question. Usually we look, well, at least I look, for weak groups first and foremost. Are there any we have to worry about? And we know the left-hand side is pretty strong. It's not weak. We know the situation up here is resolved for now. And white does not have any weak groups. We do, on the other hand, have an open 3-4 stone. So he decides to make to go ahead and make a Shamari, go ahead and close. This also works very well, I should say, with the extension that he made at Q11. We might talk about K16 later. K16 is an invasion that hasn't really given a lot of thought to how it's going to live. It's just aiming to wreck the top and run away. We might go over that later. So white picks up Aji, or uses his Aji, sorry, from someone that has not been killed yet, to connect on up fairly simply. Peep. And maintain Sente. So he gets to bring back his stone to life, and he gets another free move. So what is he going to do now? Any ideas? Isn't it annoying that P4 can be undercut? P4, okay. Since there's a wedge at the bottom left, we will definitely be getting into that one. M3, very, very telling move. We'll have to go over that as well. R3, interesting, you're looking to reduce. Okay. And we also have what? Where's Q7? Ooh, yipes. Q7 is along the lines of K16. Kind of worried about this trend that you're showing there, Deacon John. What you're identifying is the halfway point, and you're playing there. But it doesn't seem to be giving much thought to, is there anything nearby that we could play in Sente before we try a move like that? Is there any way we can live locally? Are we going to have to run away? I mean, those are really, really important questions to answer. And in the case of C, it's just kind of gonna get attacked for pretty much the rest of the game. And even if you live, you probably will wish that you didn't. Because while you're running around just trying to live, your opponent's going to be building up, especially in the center when they cap you. A is, however, one of the most interesting ones that was mentioned, because it's close to what was actually seen. However, I guess the thought with A is that we don't want to be pincered. We're hoping that we get to connect on up nice and safely. It's trying to avoid complication or conflict. Whereas this says, yeah, you can pincer me, but I can still jump out. I still have Aji in your corner, so you can fight me here if you want to. Simply because it's really, really important, I have to go back to see. I'm not picking on you or anything, but this is a very, very common problem a lot of queues have. They do identify that halfway point, and they play there. Only trouble is you haven't really given thought to how that stone all by itself is going to live. Because if this isn't threatening anything, your opponent's going to immediately attack, and let's, for the sake of argument, just assume that this lives. I don't really care about the moves involved. Let's just get it to safety. How many points did white pick up versus how many that black is going to pick up from getting all of this influence? I mean, we can easily see who got the better exchange here, assuming, of course, the group didn't die on the upper right hand for black. Oh, you thought it was black's move. Oh dear. Okay. So now you're interested in preventing that kind of move. Interesting. I think if it was black's move, I would rather try to extend all along the left-hand side. I would take a look at this variation and realize, you know what? If white wants to play this out, I'm really happy, so I'm going to invite it. I have nothing to fear from white throwing a stone in there because he can't live locally. And the board is so open that I will invite that running fight. I don't care. So I'll go off and play larger points elsewhere. I don't know, I'll extend, along the bottom side or something else. And of course, Robert T's suggestion of playing B, or playing R3, is a different way of trying to potentially reduce this area. Alright, so we now have to respond to this. And this is where this game began to surprise me. Because right now, it kind of looks pretty standard, right? I mean, we've got some territory developing. Unfortunately, no weak groups, but okay, that's fine. We've got a stone that we can attack. Nothing very unusual going on here. Hello. But all of that changes. Because rather than pincering, black decides to shoulder hit. What do we know about shoulder hits? Are we trying to kill N3? Is that its purpose? Yeah, shoulder hits are used either for reduction. They're very, very common for reduction. Since there's nothing to reduce here, though, and since we know that shoulder hits aren't a very good way of trying to kill something, I mean, you're pressing against your opponent's stone. He's obviously going to respond and get stronger while you're responding to him. I mean, it's just not going to work out that way. So clearly we're interested in something else. We're interested in influence. Something I did not expect from the Lee Sedol game. He wants to develop the center. So now I'm intrigued. Yes, if white pushes, white's going to get, if white pushes to the left, for example, black might get a wall, which will work on the right and well in the center. If he pushes up like we see here, then again, we're getting influence in the center, which could also work off this framework, depending on how white plays it. Could also work on the right. This stone in the middle, not going to magically reduce all of black's influence? It's not connected to anything. It's not some, group with a lot of shape that's invalidating all influence in the middle. So it's still very much open for grabs. Isn't it bad if white cuts? That is a great question to ask. Sometimes we don't mind being cut. Like here. The question is, why don't we mind being cut? And that's because of two things. And those are the two things. White has two groups. He cut, but can he look after both at the same time? And which one is he going to look after first? And is that going to give us more influence in the middle? Black here extends. White looks after his bottom group, which is fine. We expected that. Our corner's going to get a little bit bruised, but we want the middle, so we're fine with this. And white's still not alive, so he still has to respond. So that's good too. We're still going to get more influence in the middle. Still not quite alive yet. Slowly getting our shape though, while trying to connect out. Maybe get an eye on the bottom. Black keeps him low. Continues getting, by keeping him low, he's also almost connected up these two areas, giving himself even more influence. So we're rather fine with this. Now, did white die? No, white didn't die, but he wasn't supposed to. He was just supposed to live. We want influence in the center, and that's exactly what black got, in cente, because he's not going to respond to the corner. He has this happy little stone ensuring that he's, well connected out. He's not in danger of suddenly dropping dead over there. So he uses cente to connect on up. So the question now is, who got the better of this result? Ron Chan says this is a perfectly even board. Morn says you think B already wins this game. I think it is a little bit difficult for white. For white. Because white now has that really adorable task of having to reduce black in the center. So we have to be very, very careful. We can't go in too deep or we're going to be in trouble. At the same time, we can't be too passive, otherwise we'll be giving way too much away. So it's an interesting problem here. White's way of handling this is interesting. He decides to jump out. He's going to handle it by pointing out that these two aren't quite alive yet, and if he gets influence here, for example, then he doesn't have to worry about reducing, because black's going to have to worry about living, which is interesting. Also, if it's ignored, white can simply push out and use these liberties as a problem. So black defends. Cuts off that middle group. This, however, is interesting. I'm wondering if you thought that black had to defend against this stone, against being surrounded. Because he doesn't. He moves to connect. White moves to pressure the corner, but it's easily defended. And now we've got a little bit more of a problem, because since Black had Sensei to essentially connect up his groups, he's now made himself even more strong in the center. So now we have to think of a different way of reducing this all over again. White decides to play something that some people will probably find amusing. Because we did mention that you should never cap a fourth line stone. So you should probably definitely never cap a fourth line stone 2 spaces away. Clearly that's a mistake. It's light. Can it be argued that he's behind enemy lines? Yeah. We can kind of draw a line here and say, yeah, he's behind enemy lines. But he has to live in the center. Now, since he is 2 spaces away, he does have the attachment here, for example, which will net a response and maybe some sort of shape here for himself. That could be possible. Have you ever known Lee Sedol to kill everything Orthodox? I mean, really? How we handle this is actually interesting, because one thing that I haven't pointed out, and I meant to, is a lot of people ask me how to use influence, and this is usually what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking about how to use influence. I'm not thinking about go away. I'm not thinking about taking a Gote point, taking a Gote star point, or things like that. I'm thinking about developing your influence through a fight, getting it in an exchange. I think that's much more effective than playing a Gote large point and hoping your opponent can't reduce you too much. I think these kind of games are much more interesting. I want to say proper, but I think that might be going a little bit too far. So here we have a reduction. It's not really threatening anything. White's in no danger. Or Black's in no danger, sorry. We know that White has to live. How is this going to live? How can this stone live? That's the very first thing we need to ask ourselves when we're dealing with a reduction like this. What are its options? Okay, pixie dust is probably not going to occur, but sure. Alright, good. Connect to the top, or live in the center. Good. Those are the exact 2 answers I was looking for. We can either live in the middle, or we can connect to something. Well, living in the middle, when there's very little logic to make use of, is very, very difficult to do. So we know it's probably more likely that White's going to connect somewhere. So Black goes there first. Shoulder hits a 3rd line stone to cut off that connection. Now it has one option. It has to live in the center. White responds. Black strengthens. Huge fight begins. If this doesn't live, game is over, clearly. So it's time to start making some shape. Black is obviously going to pincer, or poke at the shape, see what White does. White responds with a simple connection. Okay. So Black puts pressure on it. threatens to escape and is kept in. Now, at this point, I would be a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not certain I would know how to live here. This seems very frightening to me, especially since I've killed groups that have tried to do things like this. But of course, I'm not a pro. And Lee Sedol tells us very confidently that he is a professional. And he does this with a nice eye for what's important. Because killing this group is not important. What's important is having more territory than your opponent. That is what's important. So he descends, makes certain that, 1, White can't get any more territory here, and 2, his corner is now surrounded. This also allows for potential expansion later on. So White can keep playing as many moves in the middle as he wants in order to try to live. All Black needs is more territory than essentially the 3 corners that White has. Threatens connection, keeps disconnected, and protects corner. Okay, got the response that we were looking for. So Black threatens to cut. Doesn't allow it to happen. And protects his stone. So can't try to kill off J10 as a quick eye. We have to do something different. So again, he tries to escape. Black keeps him in and also threatens to take quite a healthy amount of territory on top of the board. Threatens to come in. Black responds all nice and strong. Again, threatens to connect. Is denied by White, or denied by Black, but he's also getting some shape. Tries to get himself some more eyes. Black denies it. Says, I'm going to kill the stone, no eyes for you. Now, can White kill off E8? Of course. Can Atari right now, but that's not an eye. So we're not really interested in that. So yeah, we can kill it, and it's not going to help us at all. So he doesn't do it. Probes instead. Threatens some more eye shape. White connects. Tries to kill off the 3 stones in the center. Black says that he would like it if that did not happen. And escapes. Threatens to connect up. And cut off Black stones. Again, not going to happen. At this point, well, sorry, why didn't White play K8? Okay, what's K8? Why didn't White, when? After K10. Okay. After, oh, play that. Why would you play it? Not trying to be funny. But I mean, 1, Black can just connect. Those two stones aren't really doing much. I guess we can try and connect them up, but even that we're not really certain of. After M10, you mean? Okay, let's progress to M10, sure. Oh, you mean here. Okay, that makes more sense. Sure. Alright. Couple of things. If we Atari here, can we save these stones? Reasonable question. Can we get enough liberties to save the stones? Doesn't look like it, huh? Doesn't quite look like it. No real way to escape. Black's got 4 liberties. No way to save the stones for white. No way for white to save these stones. They've only got 2 liberties. No matter what they do, they're going to still have 2 liberties. So, simply doesn't work. So white forces a capture. And is slowly but surely getting a little bit of shape. Just a little. He's threatening to cut off. He's pointing out that this isn't completely connected yet. If he could get both of these moves in, then that would be a very nice success for white. I think black would probably be dead at that point. If he could even force this as Miai, if white could, for example, cut here and force a response from black, that would give him Aji against the 2 stones, and that gives him even more shape. That'd be nice too. So black says, forget that. I'm going to protect myself. Ruins eye shape. Now, here's a question. Is there any other point to J2? Was this a good exchange for white? I mean, right now he needs to do anything he can in order to try to live in the middle. I mean, that's the entire game. But there's a teensy tiny problem right now with what he's doing. This move is large against the eye shape of the bottom. White had better be able to make an eye somewhere over here in order to live. Unfortunately, he's also busy trying to live in the middle. So he's given himself a lot that he has to do. White finally gets some shape. So black points out the problem with his group. Like, how are you going to live down here? This, I just flat out don't really get what he was doing. Oh, tree. Oh, bye-bye, tree. Oh, well. But yeah, this Sane here, I don't understand what he was trying to do. You can only use that in offline mode. I can only assume that he was trying to cut into this, and maybe use this to attack. But the bottom is so huge. I mean, white connects, sure. There's Aji there. The amount of territory that, are M14 and those stones in trouble? Maybe. But after white extends, you better, or black extends rather, you have to know exactly how you're going to live. I can only assume, as Ron Chun pointed out, is that white knew he was losing this game. So he gambled. Lee Sedol, unfortunately, does not take his eye off what's important. White follows up the attack on the top. Black says, I don't care. You're just going to die on the bottom. No life to be had here. Cuts him off. And with one more probe, goes ahead and resigns. So he lives in the middle, clearly, but he damaged his outside stones by doing so. This is why, it kind of goes back to why I don't like, is there a way to find that variation? No, it probably isn't. Ooh, might be here. It kind of goes back to another reason why I don't like playing Joseki like this, is because I don't like my positions all nicely settled, because you can't do any, you can almost do nothing with them later on in the game. If something isn't 100% alive yet, then it has Aji. And that Aji can be useful later on. That is invaluable. Definitely worth more than 5 points. I mean, if this group down here, for example, had already been alive, this would have been a pretty reasonable success for black. Or for white, sorry, I keep getting those confused today. I mean, he invaded, he lived, he would have lived rather, and that's pretty good. But because he wasn't completely alive yet, that fight in the middle hurt him. He could not afford to have those groups on the board that both were still uncertain about their life. So that's an interesting game. Black got a lot of Aji against these two groups, built up a lot of influence, was even reduced in the middle, but was still able to profit. This is what I think of an influence game when I do think of them. I don't think of Gote points, trying to just take large points, build up, blah blah blah. I think of fighting. I think of games like this, where the influence is created through exchanges. I mean, you have no idea how those things are going to turn out. But those are really a lot harder to play. Was there a better place to play G11? What was G11? Oh, G11 was the cap, wasn't it? Or white left? I don't want to say white had already lost at this point, but I don't think the right-hand side went as well for him as he thought he was going to get. I think when he jumped out, he assumed that he was going to get some sort of Aji against the Q12 group and not cut off and needing to make shape. Is a peep at P15 pointless? What's P15? Oh, there. Not pointless, not pointless. You have to be careful though, because the minute black responds, then you can't connect this way anymore, like you can here, because we've got the Atari. That might actually be too small. If you were to try that, he might just lock you out. Sure, you can have control. So if I find your name... Okay, oh, there you are. Keep control. Oh dear. Oh, okay. Yeah, shoulder hit, right. Essentially, what you're referring to is one of the most common sequences when dealing with the other kind of shoulder we typically see, one that's used for reduction. In which case, black responds. White, I'm taking control back, by the way. Both players are responding. We don't simply, well, we could play this, I suppose, depending on the board. But if playing heavy like this was a bad thing, let's say there's other stones somewhere nearby where we simply can't make a heavy shape, we need to get out as fast as possible. We usually see the 1 point instead because it's faster. Does it have Aji? Yeah, it does. Whoops, not that. Ignore that. That's retarded. That's 30Q. Does it still have Aji remaining? Sure, of course it does. I mean, it might allow... That's retarded too. It might allow, for example, black to connect underneath. But our main goal when selecting this is simply to get out and not get surrounded, essentially. Well, usually. Or we want to get out and use influence in the center for something. Which is typically where we see this. Black can clamp there. It depends on what's going on. On an open board, black might even simply play this way instead, because whatever's left of this area is just very, very large, and he knows he's probably not going to see this taken away anytime soon. Yeah, I thought you were asking about some Joseki involving this point, in which case I was just going to say no. Some people do open this way. I've seen it. I've seen this in Stranger. I don't know, crazy people, that's who. Well, actually, it's interesting, quotation marks, that I see a lot of people who play these strange moves and also happen to play 10-second go. Very, very interesting that those tend to go together. They're essentially just trying to confuse the crap out of you and not give you enough time to even think about what they're throwing at you. So you make a mistake and LOL, free win. I mean, I respect people who will play this, but actually give you time to think about it, rather than people who will play this and combine it with, like, 10-second blitz. It's like, no. Sorry. A1 has a great first... Yes, A1 has a lot of meaning. Like, for example, if your opponent is not very bright and plays B2, and then you play C3, suddenly troll face, I win. I've only done that once to see if someone would actually respond to A1 with B2. And it happened once in one of my games. Oh, it was funny. Because they killed off A1, but I had this enormous amount of influence. Sure, you can show something again there. You remember having, what, A1 played against you as 24Q? I have no idea why you... What the heck? You saw this on who? Who or what is fluoride, and do they know how to play Go there? Okay. Well, congratulations? That is just weird. So on this server, you saw someone play A1 and they responded with A2. Uh-huh. A 7-Dan can play against 4Q 50 moves on the third line and still win. Yeah, I would imagine so. I hope you don't mean in a row, because that might be the most obvious statement ever if you actually meant, like, in a row. Sure, you can ask a question. White didn't die in the center, the bottom right-hand corner died. Move 47. Ooh, in the actual game. Okay. Move 47. Is that 47? That is 47. Not this move. I can give you control so you can show what move you're referring to. You want to ask about M5. Oh, that one. All right. Mm-hmm. I remember you saying that. I was thinking that M5 would extend. Oh. Now this is going to be painful because it's a lot harder for those bottom stones to actually live. I mean, the only thing you can do here now to try to live is something like this. And, yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. Not really gonna live there. Essentially, and you really shouldn't expect to live there either, because clearly white valued the cutting stones, forgot about the original ones, and was just punished for it. Well, if your sole goal is to reduce the center, I don't know. maybe don't approach at M3 if that's all you wanted to do. But once we approach, that's a lot to give up if we just, sacrifice the 2 stones for life in the middle. I mean, that'd still be fine for black as well, because let's say we did live here. I mean, that's a lot of territory to take for yourself, right? You're getting a lot on the right, you're getting the bottom nicely killed. A game to my KGS series? What do you mean? Oh, he wants to play? Can't do that now for multiple reasons. One, Ina-chan is not around, or Inazuma, sorry, is not around for happy co-commentary. Another is I haven't played a 1Q yet, and before my rank goes too much higher, I intend to play a 1Q in my series, just so I have everything all nice and neatly lined up. Alright, Robert T. I mean an actual 1Q, not like a 5-dan 1Q. Did I miss any other questions? So how should someone who is not 9P handle G11? What was G11? Ooh! Oh, shoot. Ouch. Pain. G11, haha. How would you handle G11? I don't think that the concept of how Black handled this is that difficult. I mean, part of the reason why I went over this game is because the concepts are really, really simple. I mean, after the whole dealing and picking the whole shoulder on the bottom of the board kind of thing, basic in how to handle invasions. It can establish how it can live. It can live in the middle, or it can connect up. So if you get there first, that's typically a good thing, as long as you're not, in danger. You think white should just play G14. Could not forcing, and there's a lot of Aji between your 3 space and large knight, but, sorry, white. My bad. Could. I imagine it will be responded to, as black takes pretty much everything south of that move. I mean, ideally, you just wouldn't want to be in this position to begin with. Yeah, black will still get a very large center from this. I mean, you could even play here and still get a lot of territory. I mean, this is all anchored into the middle now. That's probably more than enough. Let's see, did I miss anyone else's comment above here? Sandbagging is... I'm not sandbagging. I think that's all for the comments that I missed. Oh yeah, someone asked how the game ended. There is the actual game. You can see in the lower right-hand corner, the group died because they were kind of played against each other. That's typically how you... Couldn't I just play teaching games on Nintendo to enjoy? Yes and no. I mean, I'm not going to be playing just against queues, for example, I'm ranking up and I intend to be playing mostly against Dom level players. But I also didn't want to get into just a strictly teaching game, because a lot of times when you play a teaching game, they know they're playing a stronger opponent, they completely adjust their style, and that's irritating. So this way my account ranks up, because it's one of the only ways to actually get an account is to just, pick whatever will take you and go on up. How strong is a TIEM 4-Dan? It completely depends on the rank of the person who first makes a 4-Dan account. You could run into a 10Q who made a 4-Dan account and is just trying to get quote-unquote free teaching games, in which case he'll be extremely weak. Or you could encounter 7-Dans who are ranking up and they will beat you bloody. It's a bit of a question mark. Anyway, I think that's about it for comments, so thank you all for stopping by.